Computer. Okay. Okay, everybody, hello. Now, this is episode 18 of Vogue Conversations, and we're back into English. We said we'll try to do once every other week, one in English and one in Spanish. The last one was in Spanish, but it was meant to be in English. So if you guys expected dignity in English, well, we apologize, but we had people in the call that really felt more comfortable with the Spanish. And today we're going back to English, and we're very happy to talk about this, and it's such a relevant topic today, particularly in our country. We're calling from Chile, and Chile just returned back to prior, let's say, two steps back into almost a full being out of lockdown. So we went back 2 steps. And I think that was like one of those calling calls that says, hope, is there hope there? And we decided to talk a little bit about this all through the gamut of things we talk about, conversations about, how to deal with hope in organizations, but also talking about our daily life hope. Okay. So this is just a brief introduction, and please don't forget to go to our YouTube channel. It's Claudia Raffo, and you can find all our conversations between Fiona and me and the people who have joined us. And we'll be very happy to hear your comments and so on. So Fiona, hope, how are you today? Are you hopeful?
Yes. I've got to say that. I am. I have certain people in my families that have been pillars that have helped me to stay hopeful. But Claudia, I was just thinking, we're talking about Chile metropolitan area. That's the capital here in Chile. 8 million. How many million people? 8 million?
About 7.5, yeah, close to it.
7.5 million people, just to get the context right for those of us who are listening outside. 7 million people, 7.5 million people. We're now in phase 2. I've been hearing from Britain, I've heard from New Zealand, I've heard from Australia. It tends to mean different things for different people. So could you maybe start by saying what that actually means for us?
Sure. Well, I think that since this started for us in Latin America, and particularly in Chile, that was March the 26th, we started a very partial lockdown. Then we went out of lockdown in some communities in the metropolitan region where the massive sort of outbreak really happened, and then it expanded to the regions. Because our country is so long and narrow, there were the individuals actually who took it to those places, because the way to go to those places is through Santiago when you travel. So there was no other way. And right now, in the southern part of Chile, we have very, very high hot spots with high numbers, but they're diminishing after having very severe weeks. Then in the north also was quite dangerous, and now they're also going down. And because we moved from different phases, based on what the Ministry of Health was implementing in Chile, we were in the metropolitan region recently able to go to restaurants, but only outside, not indoors, outdoors. Some movie theaters were open in some municipalities, but I have no idea how they were carrying out that the quantity of people in the room or in every part. But what happened, because Christmas is around the corner, is that people are going to malls quite a lot, not wearing masks necessarily, and not keeping social distance. And that brought the level of contagious up. And we were yesterday and today 18%. And 18% is a lot. So what they did is, let's go back, and then this means that we can move through the week, and on weekends we have to stay back home, and we need a permit to leave the house once during the weekend, and we cannot be in groups. Restaurants will be closed again, and it's a high impact because it's not only individually that you're living this, but socially you're living this, and you're going through this, uh, having a little bit of hope because you say we're getting out of this, we're getting out of this, but then it crashes in your face, and you have to go back to taking good, very good and conscientious care of yourself and those around you. And I think, I wouldn't say that people lose hope, but people definitely get down, and they feel down, they get discouraged, and in a way they do lose a little bit of hope in their plans. I was listening to a radio call today, and people were calling, says, I was leaving on my 2-week holidays after a whole year of being in lockdown on Monday, and this is implemented this Friday or Thursday, so he cannot leave the city. And what do I do? He was asking, what do I do? I have all these arrangements, and it's like putting life in pause again. And that is an interesting conversation. So that is what it means here in Chile.
I'm wondering if from what you said, Claudia, that we've still got this hope, but we've had to be a bit more conscious about it.
Yes.
It's just like, okay, we're needing to work at this again because of this. And just, for the people that are listening to us, we have to be very clear here that, Chile has a very good health service, but it is very two-tier. So we do have a health service, public health service, that is under a lot of strain at the moment. We have a large population of immigrants. We don't have any form of unemployment benefits, which means that if people don't work, they don't receive their salaries. So there's a lot of other pressures that maybe in more countries that have other benefit systems would find it a bit easier. If some people are really, really forced to work and go out and sell their vegetables or whatever, because they know that they're not going to get any income. So there is that whole scenario there about employment, as well as other issues that maybe are not so pertinent in other countries.
Yeah. And it's, as I'm going to take a picture in a little bit, I'm going to take it down for a little bit, but I wanted to just cover some of the ideas that we have here, which is what we would like to share with everybody, and that name, just call my name, says, is it possible to just hope, like blind hope, to be hopeful blindly? And my first answer is no. Hope is based on something. Hope is based on something. For me, is either based on faith, and it can be religious faith, or it can be faith on something that is greater than you, whatever it is that you need to believe or you choose to believe. Or it can be based on your own capabilities, on your own abilities, maybe, but decisions or results because of that desire or that hope don't depend on you. And I think that is the pivotal point, and where you need to render yourself, surrender even, and to something higher, or to some other aspects of life that will come into play for the outcomes that you decide to have. For example, you're applying for a job. You can hope to get it. The more positive you are, probably your energy, your whole cortisol is going to be working. You're going to be very positive and so on, and approach that interview or that possibility and the process, involved in it, probably with very good spirits, but that doesn't mean that you're going to get the job. There are other things at play that will either go your way or not your way. So the basis for hope are very different for every individual. And like I was saying when we were not recording, sometimes I think that people tend to have blind hope, blindly. And then when they do not when they do not get what they blindly hoped for, they get either angry or extremely discouraged, and it's like almost losing faith. And that's why it's a tricky word, you know. And I think it's important because at the end of the day, and we will talk a little bit later about that, is how can you deal with hope at work, you know, when you go to work? And we have several examples of that.
I think it is clear to say, Claudia, that, you know, we're not looking at people who maybe have psychiatric problems and who go into that blind hope. And you know, we sympathize with them, and we understand that this is a different pathway that they're taking. We're looking at normal brains, normal behaviors within a context of normality.
Yeah.
And so, you know, when the Dalai Lama, I mean, I just love this quote that you put up. There's a saying in Tibetan: tragedy should be utilized as a source of strength. No matter what sort of difficulties, how painful experience is, if we lose our hope, that's our real disaster. And so, are we living a tragedy in Chile? Possibly not. But there is probably some people who do feel that, especially if they have somebody who is waiting for a ventilator for COVID, that they are going through the tragedy. And so how do we find this source of strength? I mean, open the question, you know, what about in our work spaces where we are at the moment? What about people who are maybe thinking this phase 2 restaurant owners, people who are working in the food industry? Where do they get, this is a tragedy again. They had a little bit of hope, and then I don't know if that's worse. They have a little bit of hope and then it's snatched out their hands again. How do they find strength?
Yeah.
You as a coach, ourselves as our coaches, Claudia, what would we say to people who come to us with that question?
Yeah. I wanted, before answering that, I wanted to also pinpoint that tragedy is in the eye of the beholder. At the end of the day, you live your life based on maybe your expectations or the outcomes of your desires, right? And right now, if we look at it and try to be as objective as possible, there are a lot of people who are suffering tremendously, and we don't know because it is not publicized and it's not part of the news. You know, in certain communities in our country, people are sharing common food, you know, and that's all they have. Exactly, food kitchens, and that's what they have to eat. In just actually, it was next Monday where Christmas fairs or bazaars were meant to be open for people to recover the little money they could in order to balance what they've lost for 6, 7, 8 months. And now they're not going to have that. So I believe that that's a fact. That's a fact. So as a coach, I say that is a fact. What do you do when you face a fact? Can you change the fact? No, you can't. So it's all about how you face the fact or how you face the outcome, because you cannot change it. You can change your attitude towards it. You can change your mood towards it. You can change even the actions that you can, sort of the set of behaviors that will show you positive, with a positive attitude or with a more run down attitude, you know. And individually, as a you know, so many people today are losing hope of not of what's happening today. They're losing hope in the future. They're losing hope because of what's happening today. They think future is going to be exactly the same. And that's when I say no. No, because I mean, the question for today is, are we better prepared than in March to face a lockdown? Absolutely yes. Do we know how much we need to spend today rather than we did in March? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Do we know how to cut corners and how to help each other on what we need? Yes. So it is resilience, as you were saying. It's a lot about resilience, and I think that as a coach, on an individual level, i I say we have the tools, we are not just not using it, or maybe we're not even looking at it.
Mm. I think I agree totally with what you're saying, Claudine. I think there is this tendency to go into a pattern of behavior. And we all have our patterns of behavior.
Yeah.
And I think as coaches, one thing that may help people is to actually say, take a look in the mirror.
Yeah.
What behavior is helping you and what behavior is hindering you, given the fact of what is going on. And, hope, if we can actually connect with that small piece of hope, even if it's just like that little pinprick of light at the end of a tunnel, it will actually help us in a neuroscientific level, neuroscience level. Because when we have hope, it connects us with this reward cycle. It connects us with dopamine, which allows us to connect with a reward. And it also allows us to connect, if we really do connect with this hope, with our prefrontal cortex. And there is where we can really begin to be flexible.
Right.
The opposite of hope, anxiety, fear, these are the behaviors that tend to close off our behaviors, that will leave us stuck walking down a street that has a dead-end street.
Mm-hmm.
If we can keep our brains open, keep that little bit of hope, whatever that is, even if it's just asking for help from somebody, asking for somebody for some ideas, it's amazing how then what can flourish is a lot of new ideas.
Yeah.
And we've seen it in history with large companies that have been going under, and then suddenly they it's like the flower coming out of the asphalt. There's suddenly something happens that they can actually have this growth period. So the first thing I would say to people is look at yourself. Look at your behavior, look at your patterns. Are they helping you in your situation?
Yeah.
Secondly, connect with other people. Even connecting with other people will help you to generate some ideas. And here's where I would say, Rowan wrote that it's very important. If you can think of 5 people that you want to have around you that are going to be of benefit to you in some way, that are going to contribute in some way, whether their kindness or their love or their humor, if you can actually connect with these people, then you have a better possibility of actually having some of these characteristics yourself. Right. So I would say to people, look around you, look at the 5 people that are around you. Are they actually contributing to your life? And what are you contributing to them?
Yeah. It's an incredible, the way you put it, Fiona, in questions like how are people contributing to me and how I'm giving back, which is what I hear. It's wonderful to actually check that list and to have that list, because I have felt the urge during these months, of lockdown or self-isolation, because of many months I chose to be isolated to take care of myself and others, but during these months, I have wanted to reach out to certain people. I remember when you and Sandra and I met for the first time, it was like, oh, wonderful. It was full of energy, the conversations that we have and so on. So looking for people like that, then that is emotions and is actually adding a lot of hope to my heart. And then there's this other hope, because I love learning, and so do you. And I took programs online that really helped me be hopeful about the future, because why would I take a program online if I think nothing is going to happen in a year? I would just stand like a flower until my beautiful petals just drop. Well, no, I wanted to grow. I wanted to learn something new. I wanted to add a new pair of glasses that will allow me to see things in the world differently. And it certainly did. So that's another kind of hope, and it's like a piece of behavior that at the end of the day you achieve because you feel life goes on. You're not in pause. And to me, that is a very important phrase or sentence to look after. Don't put your life in pause, but just adjust it to the new scenario, you know. So going to our second point here, so aspirations and dreams can be achieved, maybe at a different level, maybe with other people, maybe they shape form, they change form, they have a new way of becoming, but they can be achieved, you know. I know that students are finishing high school without a graduation. Okay, but maybe that's not the most meaningful thing about today's life. You can have it, but you'll remember the year when you didn't have it, and something you learned in 10 years time, you will go back and say, hey, I'm still here, you know. So
Mm.
there's I think that is extremely important not to confuse um, things that we hope for with things that are stuck in our mind as wants, you know,
Mm.
as wants. And I think we need to make that distinction to be a little bit happier and face these
Yeah.
times, you know.
And I think it is about keeping your eyes open. It is about saying, what is the future that I want? What is the present that I want? Not even the future. What is the present I want? When I get up today, what am I going to create in my home?
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to be doom and gloom? Everything's bad, or are we just going to try and jolly along?
Right.
And I have a family that have quite a good sense of humor. So when one of us is down, we can jolly each other along. And my kids sometimes do impressions of me when I'm in my most tragic moments, and it's so funny. It just takes me completely out. So I mean, there is these things like humor, curiosity, laughter fills you up with serotonin. All these things are really important. And also, begin to look, what are the things that, I mean, there's a part in the Bible that always says, no, it doesn't always say, is there, give thanks in all circumstances. And, when I think about that, one of my dear university friends that we shared a flat together with another two friends, just phoned me yesterday and said her mother just died. Now, I'm on the other side of the world. There's no way I can go to the funeral. But now, because of COVID, I can go because it's online. So there's, keep our eyes open, see where there are opportunities. And as I was saying, Claudia, I was with this group of international people last week in a conference, and one of the things we were just talking about was the whole piece about gratitude. And at the end, I just asked people to say, think about somebody that you would like to phone or contact or think about after this call that you would like to say thank you to. And one woman shared, she was a woman from Nigeria, shared that she had a male servant who had been working with her for over 17 years. And she said, it's really interesting. I want to share my story because I was traveling. He gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning, does everything for me in my home. I rushed out of the door, got it to the airport, and I thought, I didn't even say thank you to him for everything that he's done for me this morning to get me to being at the airport on time. And so she phoned him and she just said, I just want to thank you for everything that you've done for me, especially today, especially during this week where it's been really hectic. She said, I didn't realize he had a stroke the next day and died. And she said, so glad that I didn't wait. So people, don't sit and think, have I got hope or haven't I got hope? Go out and find some. Go out and, if you connect with these people that have been important in our lives, the hope that they've given us. And if there are people, I mean, like my grandmother, if there are people, they'll say, pick yourself up, find your hope. Right. They'll be giving us a kick up the butt, to put it very directly, you know.
It's amazing what you share, Fiona, and it's so telling about the many occasions when we regret not having done something, right? And I don't think this is the time to regret anything, because you know, if you're a person of faith, you would say God is giving us a chance to really reevaluate, reframe, revalue what is important for us. So let me ask you this, for you personally and also professionally, what is there to hope for you in those areas?
Okay. I feel that I have hope because I look around the people around about me. I look around the clients that I have, the family that I have, the friends that I have, and I connect with gratitude. And, you know, I think gratitude takes the hand of hope and walks along beside it. I really do feel that. Have I lost clients? Definitely. I've lost programs that were presential that I have been working for the year before. I'd read the books, I'd done all the training, and then disappeared. I could sit in the corner and cry, or I could say, okay. And I think, again, we come back to victim or protagonist. No, am I going to sit and cry because the big client that I had is gone and they haven't got their act together to get anything online? Or am I going to say, okay, not yet?
Right.
And I think there is that kind of like growth mindset. I would always say to my clients, don't stay in your fixed mindset. There's always options.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Laura Connell, who's somebody that I've met through WebEx, who's in Ireland. Cork has had a really, really tough time with the COVID. And she was just new coach. She's been working as a psychologist. She had a networking group, walking group that walked around and would do networking with physical movement. Well, COVID came, and so everybody's going, oh, well, that's us finished. And she said, no, it's not. We'll just get our phones and we'll walk around our houses or we'll walk around our gardens. Right. So there's always options. And I think she's had more people joining because there's more time, because they feel it's something that they can do. It gets them away from their computer. So there's always I would say, use your imagination.
Yes. And you know, I love for example, it's looking at the page from a different angle, and looking also at the page as a totally white canvas where you can feel free to draw, to throw paint at any way you want. And I often hear this voice inside my head that says, how come we're so positive? Because we do believe that life is good. It's not that we want to cheer people up. This is not fake people, you know, this is what we believe. And this is the way we look at our lives. Does this mean that we are not sad or that some things don't hit us? No, it does. Or they do, but obviously we pick ourselves up again very, I would say, easily, not only because life goes on, but because life goes on with you if you are feeling well and well balanced. So I was thinking about that question, was there to hope for? And in my mind, this is also about whether you define and you decide what your future is going to be, or whether you bring to the table the best of your knowledge, abilities, and moods, and you allow for someone bigger or something bigger to create the world for you. I'm in the second group. So I believe there's something bigger than me that that is setting out all of these for me to learn something, but that has granted me wonderful gifts, has granted me lots of opportunities, and is still granting me a lot of opportunities. So I hope that I can be connected to that every day. because the more connected to that I am, the more hopeful I am. And it's not blindly, it's just that my experience has been like that, has been as positive
Yeah.
as that.
I, I
Go ahead.
yeah, no, I think that is, really connecting really with the big picture, as we would see it, both of us. But I think there are some also, if people are saying, well, I don't have a faith, I'm not connected to God, I'm not connected to a higher being. There are other things that really, really affect your ability to connect with reality in terms of, if you're somebody who is continuously in the negative self-talk, try to stop yourself and ask yourself, is this really true? So when somebody's saying, oh, everything's really bad, or everything, you say, is there one thing you could find that was good? So turn it on its head. Sleep. Find ways of trying to sleep. And I'm not talking about taking remedials, not talking about taking medication if you can possibly avoid it. I'm talking about trying to get into sleep patterns that will allow you to have 6 hours sleep. And I know people that say, no, I can do okay with 2. Okay, but you're really not going into these different rhythms of sleep that will allow your brain to actually take out a lot of the toxins. I mean, it really does does a big hoover up and gets rid of a lot of toxic things. So when people say, oh no, I've not got time to sleep, make time to sleep. It's really going to help you. And also nutrition. And we know, Claudia, when we've had our cups of tea and we've been eating lots of sweet things, it's great. But, when that's going to be all the time, it's not going to help us physically and mentally. And we do need these exercise as well. Even if it is just walking around your garden twice.
Yeah.
Taking your dogs out to the gate and back.
Yes. Yeah. And to the last questions, I wanted to share an experience with a company I worked with 2 years ago. And this had to do with hope. And that's why I want to bring it up, because I remember that when I started working with them, hope was not there. Actually, there was an incredible lack of hope. And they were literally hopeless. I mean, it's like they felt as a culture, as an organizational culture, that death was around the corner. So they were permanently ready to die. So can you imagine this as a culture, as a unit, as a team? You are going to disappear from the structure, possibility. You're going to be fired, or you're going to change post as a possibility. The company is probably going into bankruptcy as a possibility. Okay.
Or a takeover.
Or takeover. So all of these ghosts are there haunting you. Therefore, when that lasts for a long time, and the organization or the leaders of the organization don't do anything about it, what happens that the life of those professionals starts being totally, I would say that swamped with helplessness and hopelessness. And it was amazing, because to me it was such an incredible finding when we realized, as we were picking up what was wrong with the culture, the language that they used. And they used the language of death. They used the language, we're about to die, we were never meant to be,
we're on our last legs.
Yeah, we're not going to survive. And everybody comes with a new speech, but nobody stays. And there was this new manager who came, and that was the reason I was helping him to develop this. And he totally changed the culture, not only because he was such a driving force, and every time I think about him, I think this guy is like, he could move mountains, and he certainly did. But then you have to put certain things in place so people will follow suit, because it's not about, and I go back to what I was saying before, it's not about cheering people. That won't get you anywhere. Sharing glass like this, nothing. What you need to do and to set in place in organizations and in individuals are practices, like you mentioned, you know. So as a culture, as an individual, as a professional, sure, you may not have a job, but then prepare yourself. Start making something that reframe the story or the narrative of the kind of job you want to get. Reframe it, just challenge it. And if you are an organizational culture that is living out of or without hope, then what is it that made you exist? What is the reason why you're there? Those are questions that will start a process and bring that question and conversation to your everyday job. So I want to say responsibly that part of what we do is improve the levels of hope based on reality, because everybody has a story that has brought you to where you are, right?
Yeah. I mean, just thinking about that, I can think of a leader that I had who was head of marketing for a big company in Russia. She was North American. She comes on the coaching call and she says to me, I've just lost 80% of the marketing budget. They've just told me 5 minutes ago. I mean, are we talking about scenario no hope? Right. So she started off by saying, I can't do the projects. I can't put any marketing outside the company. I can't do the programs that I thought we were going to be doing. So, you know, and I think what is important as we hear, and I heard that. And then I said, tell me about your team. So it completely changed. And she went, I've got a brilliant team, 8 people. We're really great. We meet together. So immediately she's beginning to change her neural part. Yeah. And I said, well, you know, tell me, it sounds like a really important team for you. Yeah, she goes, we're brilliant. Actually, she says, we call ourselves the unicorns because we can perform magic. And then she went, we can perform magic with 20%.
Exactly.
So, you know, if you're in these scenarios, we're not talking about people that aren't in the most tragic situations. Losing 80% of your budget is a tragedy.
Yes, sure.
But do you sit there and cry that it's a tragedy, or do you become unicorns and perform magic with 20? Yeah. And I think that's what this is about, isn't it? It's about even in the most tragic. I mean, I worked for 10 years with terminally ill. I mean, how more tragic can you seemingly get with this? And I think it was probably one of the most hopeful jobs that I had.
Right.
Yeah, because you connect.
Exactly. And like you're saying, sorry, there's nothing more beautiful to hear people when they know they're about to go and how thankful they are. And that takes me back to gratitude again, because it's all about that. You're not resentful anymore. You're not, your wants and needs are totally balanced, is what you need and that's it, no more. So it's incredible. And I was thinking while we were saying this, you know, like how you can improve. Yeah, you can improve by having this attitude, like realizing, for example, like your manager did, says, well, we perform magic, let's use that 20%, let's, you know, create or recreate. I was thinking about ways to do it. But then there's something that I realized also is like you need a mindset, not only open, not only outward, but also a very, let's say, bold mindset about that will allow you to learn and to click on things that are new. And I want to share an example. I took this program with Chaos Pilot just a month or 2 months ago, and I took it because I know that they bring something to me that will allow me to see the world the way I like to see it, which is completely turnaround, different. You know,
can we just repeat that again, because it kind of cut out? It's Chaos Pilot and it's Denmark, for those of you who want to look at
yes. Yeah,
House pilot.
yeah, chaos pilot. Yeah, and what they do for me is like, no matter how much I learn, on the contrary, it's not about how much I learn, it's about what I still don't know. That will always add some terrific value to what to the way I see the world, or to the way I face the world. And I met, you know, designers, architects, people in publishing, engineers, people in different NGOs around the world, and I work with 50 people that are totally different from me. I think I was the only one coach in the whole place. And that was amazing because it allowed me to see a world that is different from what I do every day. Consultants, there were none. I think there were only the people running the program and me. And then I realized that 3 or 4 participants came from the same company, and they were the top heads of a huge publishing company in India that has offices in 3 or 4 different countries, including the United States. And what did they take it? Because they said to themselves, we need a change. We need to hope for something different. And now what they did, after they tried out, they saw the impact they had, they fell in love with it, obviously, and they saw the outcomes that they could achieve. They decided to bring it home, and now they're doing a closed program. And, you know, I was invited to be part of that program. And what I feel is like, there are options there that we need to take and that we need to look into in order to grow as well. Because hope is not something that will just shower you just because, you know, it's raining. No, it's something you have to look for that cloud so you can be showered and enjoy that, you know. And I feel that this particular program is just fantastic, but there are so many others, you know. Some of them are free, some of them are not. But then it's something that will change the way you look at your present. And that to me is key.
Yeah, and I wonder, Claudia, listening to you, just that whole piece again comes up to me about courage.
Yeah.
About, okay, you can be hopeful, I can be hopeful. How do we create hope round about us? I mean, I can think of a leader, a middle management leader that I worked, a really young guy, optimist completely, took over a massive area in the United States of a bottling company, and was told that basically one of the people, the leaders of one of the bottlers where he was working, was hopeless. Just get rid of him. Put him on a plan and just get rid of him. And my coachee, so positive, said, I don't know him. I can't get rid of somebody I don't know. And had the courage to say that to the top managers, and they're all going, are you mad? I don't know him. And he just kept saying, I don't know him. I need to know him. Right. In coaching, we worked 3 months together. And he said, I think 3 months would be a fair time to just check the reality. Put in some really, really concrete goals, talk to him, create trust. He said, but I have hope. I have hope that he will change. He changed. He became the leading leader of the bottling companies throughout North America. Of 32, he was the first. Wow. Within 3 months.
Look at that.
So how does that, when you have a leader who you know has got hope, that has got your back, that makes that one conversation, and I've seen it with so many of my clients, that one important conversation.
Yes.
Where you put the topic on the table, changes realities.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So we're about to close, and I don't know if you wanted to leave us with something particularly, or would you like to share? I'm going to take this out. If you wanted to share, I don't know if you have it.
I don't have a quote for today.
That's fine, no problem.
Because I think the one that we have up is so good.
It is very good, you know. Yeah, it is quite. It really impressed me a lot, and I was looking for something which is, you know, being bold sometimes, and we were saying that the other day, has a lot to do with defying let's say, define the status quo, right? Define the concepts that we have about certain concept, about, excuse me, the meaning that we have of certain concepts and distinctions, you know. The ontology of language talks a lot about hope, and talks a lot about hope, you know, in connection with expectations, but also grounds hope into a more, how can we put it, realistic sense, you know, because it talks about, you know, how you will develop it, you know. But there's something that Sadhguru says, which really connects me generally with challenging myself, because that's what meditation and yoga meditation is about. Is what is it? You know, he asked the following question. What is the one thing that is, you know, hopeful, or what is that one hope on which everyone can rely on? Maybe for believers, it could be God. For non-believers, it could be the universe or energy, or for many people, it's you. So if the answer is you, what is that one hope on which everyone or you can rely on is you, then look after yourself, because the only way to actually, you know, rely on you is by looking after, you know, yourself. And that has a commitment that is extremely relevant for today's world, you know, which is looking after ourselves means that I'm taking care of the others as well, right? So I think that that's kind of being resilient as well, not only because of our tragedies, but also because we're the ones that stand up, you know.
And I wonder, Claudia, the question that we've got in the part there that says, is it possible just to have hope? I would say yes, because when you have hope, it opens the doors to everything else.
Yes.
That's my experience.
Yeah, I agree, absolutely. And
so don't worry about what you need, what are the evidence, just hope.
Yes.
And it will open up other roads.
And think about the present. I think it's important, you know, and like you said, I will take away today my gratitude, and think about the 5 people that I want to be, you know, not only thankful for, but also in contact with, you know, because I think it's very important. So having said that.
So what are we doing next week, Claudia? Let's just
wonderful.
give a little taster for next week.
Yeah, good question. Well, next week we're talking about something which is so present today, not only because of lockdown, because of social media, which is the fear of disconnect. You know, the fear of disconnect. We will talk about that. We will talk about the aspects of being disconnected, and that has to do with not being present. And some of the authors that come to mind that we both know is, for example, Otto Scharmer, and the wonderful book Presence that I would suggest people to read, and also the theory U, which talks about being present and how to flow in the U in order to be, you know, connected. So it's connecting and disconnecting, being, you know, critical or not being critical, and that has a lot to do with our brains. So disconnection and the fear of disconnect, that'll be next Monday, you know.
That will be next Monday, 6 o'clock Chile time.
Yes, and for the
come and join us.
For the people who cannot join us, please watch it. We will post it as usual. So thank you very much, and have a wonderful afternoon and wonderful week, everybody. Take care.
Take care. Don't lose the hope.
No, thanks.